Have you ever experienced the sensation of combating invisible conflicts every single day? You awaken with 1,000 racing contemplations, confront crushing pressure at functioning, uncertainties regarding your future, and yet you still necessitate continuing forward as though nothing is transpiring. The majority of individuals inhabit their entire existence feeling overwhelmed, reactive, perpetually at the mercy of their circumstances. They permit fear to determine their decisions. They permit doubt to govern their actions. They surrender their power to everything and everyone surrounding them. But what if I communicated to you, there exists a mentality capable of transforming all of this? A manner of contemplating and acting that renders you unshakable in the confrontation of any challenge. A mental framework so powerful that when you genuinely embody it, individuals will perceive something different regarding you. Something that commands respect. Something that intimidates weakness itself. Currently, we're diving profoundly into the consciousness of a true master of resilience. Miyamoto Musashi, a legendary warrior who didn't simply triumph in beyond 60 duels, but learned to conquer the most challenging adversary of all, himself. If you selected this video, it's because you comprehend you necessitate progressing beyond where you currently reside. You desire mental fortitude, discipline, purpose, and that's precisely what you're about to discover. Miyamoto Musashi might appear to be simply an ancient designation from Japanese history, but behind that designation resides one of the greatest examples of mental fortitude and self-discipline the world has ever witnessed. Born in 17th century Japan, during an era characterized by perpetual warfare and instability, Musashi commenced his journey as a warrior while still a child. At merely 13 years of age, he fought his initial genuine duel and triumphed. From that moment, he embarked on a journey that would render him a living legend. But here's what renders Musashi truly extraordinary. He didn't simply rely on natural capability or physical fortitude. He comprehended something that the majority of individuals never grasp, that the consciousness is the ultimate weapon. While other samurai concentrated solely on perfecting their sword techniques, Musashi was constructing something considerably more powerful, an unbreakable mental framework. Musashi wasn't simply an unbeatable samurai recognized for never surrendering a singular combat amongst more than 60 duels. He was additionally a profound strategist, a philosopher, and an artist. His reflections were immortalized in the celebrated Book of Five Rings, where he doesn't simply instruct combat techniques, but reveals principles regarding how to inhabit with purpose, clarity, and inner mastery. What's fascinating is that Musashi frequently triumphed in his duels prior to them even commencing. His reputation for mental toughness was so legendary that numerous opponents would forfeit rather than confront him. This wasn't simply concerned with capability with a sword. It was concerned with the atmosphere of absolute confidence and unshakable resolve that he projected. Instead of simply following the traditions of his era, Musashi disrupted patterns, established his own fighting style, the Naiten Ichi Ryu, and demonstrated that genuine mastery extends considerably beyond the sword. He became the archetype of the warrior who conquers initially within himself to subsequently conquer the world. A professor of psychology at Harvard University observes that individuals who develop this magnitude of inner mastery frequently display what researchers designate psychological resilience, the capability to sustain cognitive functioning and emotional stability beneath extreme pressure. What Musashi discovered centuries previously, contemporary neuroscience is now demonstrating. Mental fortitude can be developed and strengthened, comparable to a muscle. But what precisely does it signify to possess a monster mentality? We're not referencing aggression or brutality, but rather an unshakable mental fortitude, one that is born from discipline, absolute concentration, and the capability to remain steady when everything surrounding you appears to be crumbling. Contemplate the final occasion you confronted a genuinely challenging situation. Perhaps it was a confrontation at functioning, a financial crisis, or a personal loss. How did you react? The majority of individuals panic, make emotional determinations, or completely shut down. But what if I communicated to you that these moments of crisis are actually your greatest opportunities to construct mental fortitude? Musashi embodied this mentality. He didn't anticipate existence to be simple. He became more robust with each difficulty. He comprehended that adversity wasn't something to avoid, it was something to embrace as an instructor. Possessing a monster mentality signifies observing challenges with the eyes of somebody who inquires, "What did this arrive to instruct me?" It's transforming pain into fuel, discomfort into growth, and fear into strategy. Here's the matter that the majority of individuals don't comprehend. Fear isn't your adversary. Weakness isn't your adversary. Your adversary is permitting these matters to govern your actions. Instead of avoiding suffering, you confront it directly with courage and presence. This variety of mentality is uncommon but achievable, and when you develop it, it doesn't matter if you're in a boardroom confronting a business crisis, managing a family complication, or combating an internal war. You remain calm, lucid, and determined, because the monster isn't the one who screams. It's the one who doesn't retreat. It's the individual whom others observe and contemplate. There's something different regarding them, something I can't quite identify, but I respect it. A researcher from Stanford's neuroscience department has discovered that individuals who practice this variety of mental conditioning actually display measurable alterations in brain structure, particularly in areas associated with emotional regulation and stress response. The brain literally rewires itself to manage pressure more effectively. Miyamoto Musashi didn't simply leave victories in his wake. He left principles, concepts that, although born on the battlefield, are perfectly applicable to contemporary existence. And this is where the monster mentality is genuinely constructed, when you transform these principles into daily action. Principle 1. The path resides in training. The initial principle is direct and powerful. The path resides in training. For Musashi, each day constituted an opportunity to improve. He didn't train simply to defeat an opponent, but to perpetually surpass himself. But here's what the majority of individuals misunderstand regarding training. They believe it's exclusively concerned with the substantial moments, the intense sessions, the dramatic breakthroughs. Musashi comprehended that mastery is constructed in the mundane moments, in the repetition of fundamentals, in appearing even when you don't experience the inclination. This signifies that currently you necessitate observing your routine as a practice field. Every minor responsibility, every repetition, every corrected error, all of this constitutes part of the path. If you desire to be exceptional at something, you can't depend on motivation, but on discipline. Contemplate this. Musashi practiced sword movements thousands of occasions, not because he was inadequate at them, but because he comprehended that excellence constitutes a daily habit, not a singular achievement. Daily practice constitutes the most concrete method to shape your future. Don't await feeling inspired. Commence. By repeating, you evolve. Every day you forfeit training constitutes a day your competitors progress ahead. Every day you appear constitutes a day you separate yourself from the masses who surrender when matters become challenging. A sports psychology professor from UCLA illustrates that elite performers across all domains share this precise trait. They observe every day as an opportunity for deliberate practice regardless of their emotional condition or external circumstances. The distinction between professionals and amateurs isn't talent, it's consistency. Principle 2. Comprehend damage and benefit in all matters. The second principle is more subtle but equally transformative. Comprehend the damage and benefit in all matters. Musashi never struck without purpose. Every action was calculated. He understood that even a victory could be hazardous, and that certain defeats could instruct more than 1,000 triumphs. This is where the majority of individuals fail in existence. They make determinations based on immediate gratification rather than long-term consequences. They select the simple path over the correct path. They prioritize experiencing satisfaction in the moment over accomplishing good for their future. Musashi approached every determination comparable to a chess master, perpetually contemplating 3 moves ahead. He comprehended that occasionally you necessitate losing a battle to triumph in the war. Occasionally you necessitate accepting short-term pain for long-term gain. This instructs us to act with consciousness. Prior to DT, mining, contemplate. Does this bring me closer to or further from what I desire? Does this selection strengthen me or sabotage me? Does this action construct the individual I desire to become? Or is it maintaining me confined in who I've perpetually been? In a world saturated with distractions, comprehending what to avoid constitutes as consequential as comprehending what to pursue. Social media, toxic relationships, duration-wasting activities. These might experience harmless in the moment, but they're gradually eroding your mental fortitude. Inhabiting with strategy constitutes inhabiting with power. A behavioral economist from MIT has documented how successful decision-makers perpetually apply this variety of cost-benefit analysis, not simply to financial selections, but to every aspect of their existence, from relationships to daily habits. They comprehend that every selection is either constructing them or dismantling them. Principle 3. Perceive what cannot be observed. The third principle appears almost spiritual but constitutes extremely practical. perceive what cannot be observed. Musashi didn't triumph simply through fortitude. He triumphed by interpreting the environment, the energy, the intention of others. This constitutes intuition, sensitivity refined by experience. But let's be transparent, this isn't mystical nonsense. This concerns developing your situational awareness to a magnitude where you can sense matters others miss. It's concerned with interpreting body language, identifying subtle indications, comprehending the unspoken dynamics in any situation. The majority of individuals traverse existence on autopilot, completely oblivious to the signals surrounding them. They miss opportunities because they're not paying attention. They walk into conflicts because they can't interpret the environment. They make poor determinations because they're exclusively observing the surface level. In your daily existence, this signifies being present. It signifies perceiving when a conversation necessitates silence instead of response, when a path necessitates pause and not velocity. It signifies learning to interpret between the lines of the world, of individuals, and of yourself. When you develop this capability, you commence observing patterns everywhere. You notice when somebody is deceiving prior to them even concluding speaking. You sense when a business arrangement is about to malfunction. You experience when a relationship is progressing toward complications. This grants you a massive advantage in every domain of existence. A professor of cognitive science at Oxford has discovered that individuals who develop this variety of situational awareness display enhanced activity in brain regions associated with pattern recognition and predictive processing. Essentially, they become more proficient at observing what others miss. They're not clairvoyant, they're simply more observant. Principle 4. Adaptability. Finally, one of the most striking traits of his philosophy, adaptability. Musashi communicated that the identical technique doesn't triumph in all battles. He understood when to alter posture, style, even rhythm. And this constitutes perhaps one of the greatest lessons for our era. In our rapidly transforming world, resisting alteration constitutes the swiftest path to stagnation. If something isn't functioning, alter it. If a plan failed, redesign it. The error isn't in falling, but in insisting on what doesn't evolve. A researcher investigating organizational psychology at Wharton has observed that the most resilient leaders share this precise characteristic. They treat every setback as information for recalibration rather than as a personal failure. Now that you comprehend the principles, it's duration to bring this mentality to the most challenging battlefield of all, genuine existence. Because possessing a monster mentality isn't simply something beautiful to discuss. It's something you inhabit every day in the details. The distinction between comprehending these principles and embodying them constitutes the distinction between observing a workout video and actually proceeding to the gymnasium. Knowledge without application constitutes simply entertainment. In your functioning, contemplate your occupation, the pressure, deadlines, demands, perhaps even insecurities. The majority of individuals react on impulse, submerge in anxiety, or freeze in the confrontation of challenge. They complain regarding their circumstances, blame their supervisor, or fabricate excuses for why they can't succeed. But Musashi didn't react. He responded with strategy, with presence, with mastery. When confronting a challenging opponent, he didn't panic. He analyzed, adapted, and executed. Applying this mentality to your daily existence signifies being aware of what constitutes beneath your control. You can't govern your supervisor's disposition, but you can govern your response. You can't govern market conditions, but you can govern your preparation. You can't govern office politics, but you can govern your professionalism. It's acting with precision, not impulse. You become somebody who doesn't shake effortlessly because you comprehend where you stand. When others are losing their composure, you're the calm presence that individuals look to for leadership. A professor of management psychology at Northwestern University discovered that employees who develop this variety of mental resilience constitute 31% more productive and 37% more likely to receive promotions. They're not necessarily the most talented, but they're the most dependable beneath pressure. In your relationships. Now contemplate your relationships. How many occasions do you enter conflicts because you don't comprehend how to listen? Because you don't perceive the moment to step back or communicate with wisdom? How frequently do you permit emotions to commandeer your responses? Musashi interpreted his opponent's movements prior to them even attacking. You can accomplish the identical emotionally, perceiving the signals, listening with attention, avoiding unnecessary conflicts. This signifies comprehending when to communicate and when to remain silent. It signifies understanding that triumphing in an argument frequently signifies losing the relationship. It signifies possessing the fortitude to acknowledge when you're incorrect and the wisdom to establish boundaries when you're correct. The majority of relationship conflicts aren't concerned with the surface issue. They're concerned with deeper needs for respect, comprehension, or security. When you learn to interpret these underlying currents, you can address the genuine complication instead of simply treating symptoms. This too constitutes being a warrior. The most robust individuals aren't those who dominate others. They're those who have mastered themselves sufficiently to bring out the finest in others. In personal development, most consequentially, apply this to your personal development. You recognize that fear that prevents you from commencing something new, that sensation of not being prepared, that voice within your consciousness that communicates you, necessitate awaiting the perfect moment, or that you don't possess adequate experience, or that you might fail. Musashi didn't await being prepared. He trained while he fought. Every error constituted a lesson. Every difficulty a chance to grow. He comprehended that readiness doesn't constitute a prerequisite for action. Action creates readiness. The monster mentality transforms every challenging moment into a training ground. That public speaking opportunity that terrifies you, training ground. That business concept that appears too hazardous, training ground. That relationship conversation you've been avoiding, training ground. There exists no defeat for those who determine to learn from everything. Existence won't spare you, but you can determine to confront it with courage, with strategy, and with purpose. This constitutes what separates those who survive from those who become unbreakable. A researcher in developmental psychology at Yale University has tracked individuals over 20-year periods and discovered that those who embrace challenges as growth opportunities display significantly elevated levels of life satisfaction and achievement compared to those who avoid difficulty. If you desire to embody the monster mentality, you necessitate a daily ritual. Simple but powerful. Something that sharpens your consciousness every day, precisely as Musashi sharpened his sword. But here's the crucial distinction between successful individuals and everyone else. Successful individuals possess systems, not simply goals. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. They don't await inspiration. They construct it through consistent action. Morning intention establishing. Upon awakening, prior to consulting your phone or becoming distracted by the noise of the world, define your intention. What do you desire to conquer currently? It could constitute procrastination, fear, fatigue, or a specific challenge you've been avoiding. But don't simply contemplate it, document it. There exists something powerful regarding positioning pen to paper. It transforms a vague contemplation into a concrete commitment. Strategic action. Subsequently select one action that symbolizes this commitment. A workout that demonstrates you can persevere through discomfort. Reading that expands your knowledge or a challenging conversation you've been postponing. Accomplish it with total presence, not simply progressing through the motions. This isn't concerned with being occupied, it's concerned with being intentional. Every action should possess purpose behind it. Evening reflection. At the conclusion of the day, review what you learned, where you can improve. Inquire yourself. What functioned? What didn't? What would I accomplish differently? How did I manage pressure? Did I act comparable to the individual I desire to become? This isn't simply a routine. It's an act of sacred discipline. A warrior doesn't inhabit on autopilot. They inhabit with purpose in every detail. This modest ritual, repeated day following day, shapes something unbreakable within you. A professor of habit formation at Duke University has discovered that individuals who follow this variety of structured daily practice display remarkable improvements in what psychologists designate grit, the capability to persevere through long-term challenges. More consequentially, they report experiencing more in control of their existences and more confident in their capability to manage whatever arrives their way. Remember, you don't necessitate inhabiting in feudal Japan to be a warrior. The genuine battle transpires within you every day. Musashi demonstrates to us that genuine fortitude originates from discipline, strategy, and the courage to confront our own fears. By adopting this monster mentality, you commence shaping an existence of purpose and transformation. The consciousness you construct currently determines the battles you'll triumph in tomorrow. So, communicate to me in the comments, what battle are you going to triumph in currently? If this video inspired you, activate that approval button, subscribe to the channel, and distribute it with somebody who necessitates hearing this message. Until the subsequent occasion, maintain your consciousness sharp and your spirit unshakable.